Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm going to share a card with you using a technique with white ink. Now white ink is not a colour, well it's not really a colour, is not an ink that we tend to think about. This is what's known as a craft ink, which means that it's thicker than the regular inks that we use. And so it looks really lovely when you use it on dark cards. So this is Night of Navy, and you could use the various deep reds like Merry Merlot, Blackberry Bliss, Cherry Cobbler, and also I think it would look really good on Early Espresso. So I'm featuring the Uniquely Artistic stamp set today, and this is a two-step stamping set. So it gives you like the outlines here, and then these are like the fillers here. And then I love the fact that it's got some little dainty leaves and some little seed, I think they're seeds down here. Now, I'm only going to be using the outline stamps. I'm not going to do the two-step stamping today. I'm just going to be using these outline stamps. We're going to start with a piece of Night of Navy. This measures 5 by 3 3/4. But you don't need to worry about remembering these measurements, because if you look below this video, you'll see that there's a link to my blog, and that will take you to exactly the post that describes this particular card, so you're not hunting and pecking looking for it. So as I said, we're going to be using our white ink and the outline stamp, and I like to start with my largest stamp first. So we're going to pop it down. I am going to work on a mat here just to make sure that I get my some level, some sponginess underneath. And as I said, I like to start with my largest ones first, and I'm just going to press firmly and leave it a few moments for the ink to transfer. And isn't that lovely? Lovely effect. I love this. Now, you don't want to press the ink or the stamp too heavy into the ink. As I said, it's quite thick, and I don't want to get blobby bits on my cardstock. So I'm just pressing into the ink quite gently, and then just smoothing that over just to make sure I get a good image. Then I'm going to go with the next largest stamp, which is the flower, and again lightly inking and just popping it down, again giving it a few moments for the ink to transfer. And then I'm going to pop another one over here, and I'm taking care not to overlap the images, because then it starts to get a bit confusing, and I don't think the effect is as pretty as if you've got them all separate. So now I've got my big ones. Now I'm going to go in with my little ones. So I've got this leaf, really, I don't know if you can just see, really sort of elegant, swervy or curvy onto it. And I'm gonna fill in just some of my gaps, just to make sure I've got plenty on my ink on my card. Now, I mentioned that this ink is quite thick, and it does take a few moments to dry, longer than our regular inks. So I always make sure when I'm using these white inks, this white ink, not to touch the the surface because it will smear, and then you won't be quite so happy with your finished article. And then we've got these nice little seed heads or dotty bits. And if you follow me, you'll know that I do love to fill my gaps with dotty bits. It just finishes it off for me. Even if I just stamp a tiny one to the side, then at least I've got there, and I've got a gap here that I want to fill, but I don't want to to stamp over another image. So there I have my beautiful images in my white ink. Now I am going to set that aside for a few moments to set up while we work on the next bits. Now my card base is Night of Navy as well, and I'm going to stamp a little filler flower. This is one of the others in the set, and I'm just going to stamp this in Night of Navy, and I'll do the same with my envelope as well, because I do like a decorated envelope. There, and here, like that. Now my greeting is coming from another stamp set. Now those who follow me know that I like to just use one stamp set at a time, but this one doesn't have any words, so I was toying between having the Go-To Greetings, which is one of my all-time favorites, but then I thought Celebrating You. This is a super set, lots of different greetings, and I have used it on a couple of other videos. But there's a lovely Mother's Day. There's Easter. There's a lovely one here that you could use for an engagement or a wedding. But I'm going to use Grateful to Celebrate You Every Day. I think this would be a great, you could use this as a birthday card, congratulations card maybe for having passed exams or something like that. So that's the one I've decided to use. And I'm also going to be using one of the punches that have been recently released in the online exclusives. And this is one that we've used before, which is the 1 3/4 inch punch. And it is now going to be available, not from the catalogues, but it is going to be available online. And again, if you look below my video to the link in the to my blog, there will be a link that will take you to my online store, and you would be able to order it there. Now this is my original one. I kind of tucked it away. You can see it's a bit well loved, but it works just as well. So I have my stamp already loaded, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch it out of this piece of card here. I just want to see how far it goes in, and I'm going to stamp it right there. There we go. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, that is a big piece of card to be stamping a little greeting on, Cindy. But this piece is actually going to be one of my layers. And so, rather than use a separate piece of cardstock, I'm going to cover the hole with there. And when that gets stuck down onto my card base, no one will ever see that there's a hole in the background. Now I've got a bit of space here, so I'm going to fill it with that little flower, that little set of leaves that I used on the envelope. And I'm going to kind of just do it so it curves up like that. And I think I'm done with my inks now. Get this out of the way. And I think we can finish off our assembly. So I'm using some liquid adhesive. I'm going to pick this up so I don't get ink adhesive on my workbench. See, I've managed to put some. I always forget to make sure that I don't put any adhesive where my hole is, but I just get carried away with that. I'm going to go with some dimensionals on the back like that. I think I need to trim a few more edges. Do you always use your edges? They're just as sticky as the bits in the middle, and I always use my edges up. And pop one in the middle there. And then my card base is Night of Navy again. Don't forget, all this information will be on my blog if you follow that there link. I'm not sure which is the top and the bottom, but I don't think it really matters. Doesn't that give a really big impact? Look at that, with the white and the navy all together. And then I've got my greeting. So, and again, just going to trim these edges up and pop that on my greeting. And my final flourish is to use some of the elegant trim. So I'm not quite sure where to actually put my greeting, because I'm going to be losing some of my stamping anyway. So I'm just gonna go for it and pop it there. So I got my Simply Elegant trim, and it comes with silver as well as gold. And when it comes off the spool, it is a bit, it's kind of all sort of twirly. So I just take my bone folder and just gently with my thumb press it, and I'm not doing it too hard like you would make ribbon curly for your parcels, but it just takes the worst of the curliness out. And I'm just gonna do myself a bow. I use the rabbit ear technique, and I have got videos on my channel on making bows and mastering ribbon techniques. And a little glue dot on there to just hold everything in place. And I'm going to pop it there where those two little bits of leaf come together. And then my last little bit is to put my filler in, my inside layer. This is where you're going to write your To You, Love From Me. And it needs something, unless you're going to use maybe a white or a silver ink pen. The dark blue it makes it a bit difficult to write. So I always put my little fillet in there so that we've got something nice to write on. So there we are. We've featured a couple of stamp sets, the Uniquely Artistic and Celebrating You stamp sets, and a lovely inking technique with white craft ink. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the card and the technique that I've shared today. If you have, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you don't already do so. And if you have any comments or questions, you can always put them in the comments below the video and I'd love to read them. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye for now.